All right, Asher. Well, welcome to the Talk Data series with RingLead. We're excited to have you here today and to get the chance to interview you and just kind of educate the market and the RingLead family on what you guys really do well and who you serve. And so really what I want to start out with is, a little background on yourself, and then we'll start out with some background on the company DemandMatrix as well.
Terrific. Thanks, John, and thanks for having me on. Hi, everybody. This is Asher, and I've been in the tech space now for over 15 years, and the last 3.5, I've been in sales and martech. Love the space. Love helping sales and marketing folks do better in their roles. Hit their numbers, get all those trophies, go on those really expensive trips. Love all of that. And so, what I joined DemandMatrix. Because DemandMatrix is a data company, and what we are doing is we are on a mission to find the highest propensity to buy accounts. And so that's our banner, that's our flag, that's the world that we want to live in. And so what we've done over the last 4 years, the company has been in existence, is just to get a deep understanding of what data is really beneficial for technology companies or technology sellers and marketers. And what we found that technographic data, specifically the front end, the back end tech stack, the other signals that data can bring to you is really important information, because ultimately today, everybody wants to have a meaningful conversation. But how do you have that meaningful conversation? Well, you need to have some information. And then anybody and everybody can find the revenue size data, the employee size data, the industry, like the list goes on and on and on. So there's two cases of data now that are helping sales folks and marketing folks. It's technographic data and actually the advanced signals in the technographic data, because I believe today you can get front-end technology data anywhere. And so the couple things that we've done is really honed in the advanced signals when it comes to technographic data. And those are skill sets we can find and tell you exactly how the skill sets of a given company are trending, whether they're increasing capacity for a certain skill set or decreasing capacity for a certain skill set. We have information about projects. We have information about certifications. We have information about their cloud maturity. So again, all of the information that can be derived from this data set that is focused on the technology infrastructure. Why we do that is because as a data company, we want to know why companies will buy. And so all of the intent in the marketplace today, what it does, it tells you when they would buy, because it's all predicated on somebody searched for a keyword, somebody went and landed on a landing page, somebody subscribed to a newsletter. The big piece of this, where we believe things are going, is the why. And we derive the why from a capabilities perspective. And so when you look at technographic data and you really understand the tech stack, the skill sets, the projects, the certifications, the ISV or SI landscape, you now are thinking about a prospect's business almost by being in their shoes. And that amount of context allows you to say, will this company be successful when they buy my product? And if they are, your renewals will not be a problem. And so hence we derive the why would you buy from us versus the when you would buy from us. And so that is also one of the signals that we have today.
That's very unique. I think it's a really cool idea. It's got my mind kind of already thinking about how we could utilize some data like that, to better target accounts that have, I think it sounds like front-end technographics would be, they use a certain set of technologies, and back-end technographics would be more about, how many certified experts do they have? What SIs are they using? What projects are they working on? And I think that's wildly important for when you're putting together always, changing set of target accounts for, an ABM or just a general campaign. I want to ask you a question about that. Do you recommend for new customers that they map the tech stack and the front and the back end of the technographics for customers first? Or do you, typically see this being like a targeting for net new buyers? Because I'm thinking how I'd like to get a better understanding of my customers, right? And this could be a really great way to do that.
Yeah, so believe it or not, in really large companies who we serve really well, there's all kinds of data available. And I was at a pretty big company as well before, but the problem was like, how do I get all of this data to stitch together so that I can make use of it, right? So even if you look at data as internal data and external data, in a lot of times, our customers are asking us for external data, which validates their internal data. So this is also another pain point of companies where getting access to the right information is really, really hard. And when you're in a time crunch, it's good to validate externally how the internal data is working. And so we do find a lot of customers asking us for data on their own customers just so that they can validate that the software, even though it exists, is it actually being used? Because you can always say, hey, my subscription is active, so great, like this person's totally there, and this technology is totally there, and we can like count them as an active customer. But is it actually being used, right? And so the only way you can find that information is, well, is it used in projects? Is it used in are people certified on it, right? Like those are the signals that allow you to learn if it's an actively used technology, or worse, that if it's about to be churned, because if the skill set for that specific technology is being moved out of a company, chances are that technology is not going to be there long.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, I get some pretty generic questions I want to ask you, and we'll probably cut this moment out. But this next question is, what are the main problems that you help your customers solve?
Yeah. So there are the age-old problems. There is just a better way of solving them, right? Like, oh, the big thing is account discovery, right? Like, even though you may have 1 million accounts in your database, like, which ones are actually relevant, right? So we can help with like account prioritization, right? Or even though you have 1 million accounts in your database, who you serve may change. So you need to go find out who are the right accounts that you want to go serve. So account discovery, account prioritization. In some cases, we help with TAM analysis and stuff. But from a pure day-to-day perspective, we have account discovery, account prioritization are the two big ones. And then there's some advanced signals in that, right? Like, because account prioritization, I feel is like a bucket. It's like intent, right? And then there's like different types of account prioritization that is happening. It's can I go? Are people up for renewal? Are people's cloud maturity high enough so we can go sell them new solutions, right? So those buckets are the projects that we sign up for, and that's how we like optimize our data. So the one thing to remember about DemandMatrix is we're all about quality. We do not do quantity, and we also do not go buy data from other companies and produce our technographic data, and we own that entire pipeline. And so what that helps us to do is focus on quality, and then that quality allows us to further optimize the data for specific themes. So cloud would be a theme, IoT could be a theme, storage could be a theme, gaming could be a theme, high performance computing could be a theme. Like all of these themes matter, and they matter because marketers are using themes for their campaigns as well. And so those themes, whether people want to move VMs from one cloud provider to another cloud provider, right, help marketers further their campaign goals, and that's how they make the number.
Sounds great. Again, for me, it's very relevant. you know, again, my mind keeps going back to, I would love to know all of these things you're talking about my existing customers, so that I could then create profiles for my best customers that maybe have signals in the, you know, the what projects they have, or how many certified experts, or when their Marketo renewal is, or, you know, there's so
Yep.
many different variables that could help me kind of
Yep.
zero in on where, not what is the, because it's always easy to whittle down to like 1,000 or 5,000 target accounts. But if you want to get that down to 100 or 200, you know, what are the, we know the technographics and we know the business size and verticals. Now, what are the buying signals, right, that we can derive from a third-party data provider from like yourself? So that's a pretty powerful functionality. I want to ask you, are there specific verticals that you guys are focused on serving?
Yeah. So today we are doing telecom, technology, of course. We're doing media. We're doing security. So a lot of the, I would say, most popular verticals that are in the marketplace, those are the ones we are serving. But we are also seeing that as we expand out of just serving the coast and move a little bit into the country, there are traditional like manufacturers who are starting to think about themselves as being a technology company. So we're serving them in the similar manner that we're actually serving the technology companies, right? But our core verticals really are technology, media, telecom, security, and then the likes of there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can cut after that. That was good. Okay. Asher, are there specific geographic locations that you guys really serve well in?
Yeah. Just like any other startup, like our core is the Americas, right? So we have done a lot of work on figuring out the best data set for Americans. But now, just like everybody else, we are also going deep with our customers and trying to serve them in other markets. And one of the big initiatives that's going on at DemandMatrix currently is we have expanded into the APAC market, and we have live customers there today who we're working with, and then those customers are then asking us to stretch to LATAM and EMEA as well. So the key thing that we found is as long as it's an English-speaking country, we can serve customers anywhere. When it's a specialized country, or I would say when the language is not English, then we have a little bit of work to do, but that work can be done efficiently with our market research team. And so we can totally serve geographies that don't speak English. We just have to narrow down that there are technology companies that we serve them first, or media companies, or telecom companies, you know, like anybody that has a digital footprint, that we can work with them first, and then we can work with the other companies after that.
That's great. All right, so the next one is, sorry, I'm going in between two sheets right now because I've got new questions that I want to ask you based on your answers, and so we'll put those ones at the end too. And then I know you guys categorize yourself as B2B, but you may do B2C as well. So I'm going to ask you this question because it's also something that, you know, it's a common question. It could be like an FAQ or something. So, all right. How would you categorize your data, Asher? Is it B2B, B2C? Could it be B2B2C? Is it, you know, it could be all of the above, but where do you guys really focus?
Yeah, so we actually think about this as the data stack. And just like companies have like the tech stack, they have the sales stack, they have the martech stack, they have like the IT security stack, you know, they have the developer stack, you know, like we actually started thinking about things as the data stack, and companies need to think about this in a very framework-oriented manner. And so we think of account data has firmographic data, it has contact data, it's a technographic data, and has intent data. Now, you can always move these around to like fit underneath each other as well if you wanted to like condense or consolidate the data stack, but those are the pieces of the data stack. Now, in that data stack, our view is that or our market that we want to serve is primarily B2B. And so we have not delved into B2C today because our customers are highly concentrated into B2B. And our belief, being a customer first company, is when those customers take us into B2C, or if the requirement comes up, we will absolutely consider that and serve them. But majority of our requests today are very B2B, and in some cases it could be, you could call it B2B2C too, because when you start looking at SIs and to distributors, those companies information we have as well.
Absolutely. All right. Do you guys consider yourself an enrichment provider, a list provider, or both?
Yeah, so this is an interesting one because and as we are evolving as a company, you know, like startups are interesting because they originate from all kinds of different places, right? And so, or backgrounds, I would say. DemandMatrix's background, at one point in time, we used to do lead development where we had callers and dialers, and you know, we were working on all of this thing as we were trying to figure out what is our path. And so I would say we are a data provider, right? And the data can then be used as a list. It can be consumed as a list. It can be consumed directly via an API, which is what we're working on with you guys. It can be used for enrichment, but we provide data only. We do not provide anything after that. We do not provide any type of portal today or anything like that. We provide the data. We want to make sure it's the high quality data, and that high quality data can be consumed in a flat file. It can be consumed by an API. It can be consumed in multiple different ways, but we are not going to hook into other systems today because we want to take all of that time and resources and energy and make sure that the data that we do provide is like the highest quality data that's out there.
I think that's a really important point. You know, you find that companies try to do too much, and I always say this, it's like they're really great technology companies, they're amazing data companies, and I think the data that's the best are it belongs to the companies that spend all the time on it, right? It's like you got to maintain that list. It lives, it breathes, it changes, and if you don't have 100% of your focus on maintaining it and evolving with it, it can decay, and that's always a terrible thing. So do you guys have or no, here we go. How many business and person records are in your database? Before you answer that, actually, Asher, do you guys offer company lists and enrichment only, or do you do any contact enrichment or list providing?
Yeah, so we provide data that's at the account level or the company level. We do not provide data at the contact level, although when we deal with marketers, they always ask us about contacts. And so we have a couple of partners that are trusted partners, and the way we partnered with them, and the reason why we partnered with them, because they were already in our customer accounts. And so it was natural for us to partner because they were already vetted. And as you know, John, in dealing with large companies, it's really hard to become a vetted vendor. And so when you find somebody that has gone through all of that due diligence, it makes it easy to partner with them because they're already there. The customer has a confidence in them and they have a level of maturity. So we then work with them. And so hence what we've started doing now is if we have marketers who really want contact data, we will source the data for them, but we will refer it to one of our trusted partners who, like I said, we've been working for over a year.
Okay, so then my next question is, how many companies do you have in the database?
Yeah, so this is again the quality versus quantity problem that companies like to solve, right? And I believe it or not, before I answer the question, like I was speaking, I'm in a cycle with another really large company that's global, who basically was super proud that they had a million records in their database that who they could go after, right? Companies basically, right? And I said, okay, this is great, but like how many of those really matter, right? Like how many of those are engaging with you? Like, is there, like, can we talk about like how many of them are actually in your audience? And there was like maybe 100,000 of them, right?
Yeah.
So you have like 90% of your database is just like sitting there, and you may or may not go after them, right? Because you clearly have not made a strategy to go after them. And so what are you going to do with them? And so 2 weeks later, they were like, well, we just took the 900,000 accounts. We just like cleaned our database because things are down right now, things are slow. So we figured it was a good time to do cleanup. So I said, this is great, because that's our philosophy as well, because we focus highly, highly, highly on quality. And so even though in our database today, we have, I think, like 71 million companies, you know, like you can go and 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 uh, uh, you can just go on and on and on and on in terms of the data that you collect, right? But actively, there's about 15 million or so. But even in our time, John, like the time that we've spent in this B2B sales marketing space, right? Like, I don't know about you, but I find it really hard for a company to say, I'm going to efficiently target 500,000 accounts,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to be the best at targeting 500,000 and all those 500,000 accounts. Now, there are companies out there that are very, I would say, SMB in nature, but this is not for SMB, right?
Yeah.
Like this is target account, right? So,
Well, I think
so
there's a bit of a loaded question, because it's really not about, it's about who the customer is targeting. So in my past, I've had so many different types of customers clean, let's say, duplicates, and they're all so different. And when they would ask me, hey, who's the best data provider? You know, what was right for one wasn't right for the next, which wasn't right for the next. And so that's why I kind of started on this journey. But what I see is 15 million companies is not small by any means. And also, it sounds like you guys have an amazing market research team where it makes you flexible. So if it's like you get, you know, some healthcare company from Canada that needs you to track some proprietary, you know, type of technology that's being used by hospitals or something, that you guys could be flexible and start to build that same process around really any vertical or any type of technology. So I think that's like what you mentioned is 15 million companies, very targeted, very good data, but we got a system where we can scale that out really for custom requests as well.
yeah, yeah, no, that market research team is worth their weight in gold,
That's
or
great.
whatever metal is like even better than gold. But yeah, it does allow us that flexibility to not only look for new technologies if there are customer requests, but even further optimize the data, right? Because somebody will come and say, I want cloud data. Well, cloud is like huge, right? Like, do you want the data optimized for like Alibaba Cloud, or do you want it to be optimized for any of the other large cloud providers, right? And so the question is always about like what will you do with the data when I give it to you, and how fast can you use it, right?
Yep.
And most companies are not set up to even take, let's say, 500,000 accounts a quarter and go utilize them,
No,
like
that's,
effectively, right?
you'd have to have a
And
huge
so
sales team.
exactly. So then the question then becomes like, okay, so what is a good number of data? And I always, I used to think like more is better, but actually having worked with a lot of these companies and trying to go deeper into these accounts and really give people like advanced signals about why a customer or prospect would buy, or why a customer would return. Like, this is specialized data. So we have decided that we're going to be very focused on quality, because we want to work with customers who want to then have a long relationship with their customers. And so, or at least the customer segment that they're going after. And so, so that's basically another thing that was derived from our current customers. It's not we were thinking about it, but then we said, let's go talk to our customers and figure out like what's really valuable. And
Yeah.
that if we give you like 15 million accounts, what are you going to do with it, right? And they were like, I don't know, right? And the market is like, we want contacts, and then you get into this contact game, and then the game just never ends, right? So we ultimately came back to and said, less is more. Let's focus on the a small number of or more manageable number of companies, and then let's go deeper into them. But let's provide like insight, not just data that people just put in, and then there's like a lead score and account score that's happening. But let's provide insight. And so, on that note, I also want to add that even though we do provide data, and we only provide data only, we do offer visualization services too. So we will create dashboards so that sales teams can consume that information, because sales teams aren't going to go and do a bunch of like configuration of data to get to the data that they want, right? They want like readily available information so they can then go and have that meaningful conversation, because they're spending a lot of time preparing for that conversation. So we're saying we'll provide a dashboard, and then that dashboard can have all the signals on it, and then those signals can be interpreted depending on what the person is trying to do, whether they're trying to win an account or save an account.
That's great. So are there any specific types of technologies that you guys would be like a perfect, like perfect strike right down the middle? I have CRM and marketing on, I need CRM and marketing automation, or is it ERP or EHR, or, like what's the perfect mix of technologies that a customer could ask from you?
Yeah, so John, this is another one of those quality versus quantity questions, but we track 14,000 different technologies. Now, as we have worked with customers and looked at like what are the actively requested or used technologies, it's probably like 2,000 to 3,000 of them, right? But again, we have 14,000 of them that we track, and we've got data on even more if needed, right? But again, like I was sharing as part of the previous question, that the ones that, like what we're seeing and where we're headed, and as this target account approach becomes even further ingrained by companies of all sizes, by the way, right? Like there are companies today that do not know what ABM means, and they'll say that they know what ABM, that they're doing ABM, but they don't actually know what that is, or account-based selling, or target accounts. Like they do not know that. They talk about it in their slide decks, but when you dive down into it, they don't do it, right? And it's interesting and surprising at the same time. But yeah, to answer your question, there's about 14 or so thousand technologies that we track, and then but to share some information as value for our listeners, there's about 3,000 of them that are actively requested.
And what would you say the most popular requests are for technology information?
Cloud,
like what system?
And
Like is it Salesforce? Is it Google? Like
it's actually even further basic than that. It's both at the platform level. Like people are saying like how much cloud consumption is there, how much like call it AWS versus Azure versus Google Cloud versus Alibaba Cloud. Like how much of that is that's happening? What are people spending on it? Where are what type of workloads do they have on those platform solutions? The other thing would be like things like IoT, things like security, things like high performance computing. Like again, very like tech heavy. It's interesting. Like we look at a lot of people that just say, "Hey, tell me how many people use like Salesforce," right? Or at least I would say in my entire time here at DemandMatrix, I think I've had that maybe once or twice. It could be because of the type of customers that we work with today. But yeah, I mean, if somebody's asked me for a list of Salesforce customers, that's easy for us to pull. But again, like I said, we're like super specialized even further, right? So we're talking about what are the next few things that a cloud, a company that consumes cloud heavily going to do, and that's where our customers are finding value.
All right, so we have gotten to the end of the interview, and I think you've dropped some amazing insights for the audience. And now we're going to kind of switch gears and go through a presentation that Asher and I have put together. And it will be a short presentation, but I'm going to share my screen now.